The night, the entire restaurant burst into laughter. No one noticed the quiet pain in the young waitress's eyes. They only saw a woman in a simple uniform standing beside a billionaire's table, holding a notepad with trembling hands. But what happened in the next few minutes would become a story none of those wealthy guests would ever forget. One sentence, spoken with calm dignity, would silence the loudest man in the room and remind everyone that kindness is worth far more than money. Before we begin, if you believe kindness is never weakness, and that everyone deserves respect and a second chance, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who believes in humanity, and subscribe to the channel for more inspiring stories that touch the heart. The city of Geneva was known for luxury, wealth, and elegance. Every evening, expensive cars lined up outside the famous Grand Lumiere Hotel, where politicians, celebrities, and billionaires gathered for unforgettable dinners. Inside the glittering dining hall, every detail reflected perfection, from the crystal chandeliers to the polished silverware. Among all the beautifully dressed staff was 26-year-old Emily Carter, a waitress who carried herself with quiet grace, despite the exhaustion hidden behind her smile. Very few people knew that Emily had once dreamed of becoming a language professor. She had studied languages since childhood, fascinated by how words could connect people from different cultures. She spoke English, French, Italian, German, Spanish, and even a rare Eastern European language. Her late grandfather had taught her before he passed away. Life, however, had other plans. After her mother became seriously ill, Emily abandoned graduate school and worked double shifts to pay hospital bills. Every smile she offered customers hid sleepless nights and unpaid debts. Most guests never noticed her. Some thanked her politely, others ignored her completely. Emily never complained. She believed dignity came from how you treated others, not how they treated you. On the same evening, a convoy of black luxury vehicles stopped outside the hotel. The staff immediately recognized the guest stepping out. Victor Langford was one of Europe's youngest billionaires. Newspapers called him a financial genius. Business magazines admired his empire. But among hotel employees, he had another reputation. Victor expected absolute perfection and rarely showed patience toward anyone serving him. His wealth had slowly convinced him that respect could be bought just like everything else. He entered the restaurant, surrounded by wealthy investors from different countries. Their expensive watches sparkled under the lights, while confident laughter echoed through the room. The manager personally escorted them to the finest table and quietly instructed every employee to make sure nothing went wrong. Emily was assigned to serve the group. She approached with her usual warm smile, offering menus and welcoming the guests. Victor barely looked at her. His attention remained fixed on discussing a major international business deal. Emily patiently waited until there was a pause before politely asking whether they were ready to order. Victor glanced at one of his business partners and suddenly smirked. Without warning, he switched into an uncommon Eastern European language, believing nobody around him could understand. His companions immediately followed, laughing, as he deliberately mocked the waitress standing only inches away. He described her uniform as cheap, questioned whether someone so ordinary even deserved to work in such an elegant restaurant, and joked that people like her existed only to serve successful people like them. Every cruel sentence was met with louder laughter around the table. Emily remained perfectly still. The other guests nearby assumed they were discussing business. The restaurant staff couldn't understand a single word. Even the manager smiled nervously, unaware that humiliation was unfolding in front of everyone. Emily quietly finished writing the order. For several seconds, she said nothing. Victor interpreted her silence as ignorance. Then something extraordinary happened. Still speaking the same rare language, Emily gently thanked Victor for his order, repeated every item perfectly, corrected one pronunciation mistake he had made, and politely wished him and his friends a wonderful evening. The laughter vanished instantly. Victor's confident expression froze. One investor accidentally dropped his fork. Another stared at Emily as though he had seen a ghost. The room suddenly felt strangely silent, despite dozens of conversations continuing elsewhere. Emily looked directly at Victor with calm, respectful eyes. She never raised her voice. She never insulted him. Instead, she quietly explained that her grandfather had raised her speaking that language, that she had studied linguistics at university before leaving school to care for her sick mother, and that understanding another language also meant understanding the responsibility that came with speaking it. She gently added that people often revealed their true character when they believed no one could understand them. There wasn't a trace of anger in her face. Only disappointment. That hurt Victor far more than any insult ever could. For the first time in years, someone had exposed not his business mistakes, but his character. Emily walked away with dignity, leaving the table completely silent. The investors avoided eye contact with Victor. Moments earlier, they had laughed alongside him. Now every one of them looked uncomfortable. Suddenly, the expensive suits and luxury watches no longer seemed impressive. Victor tried returning to the business discussion, but the energy had disappeared. Numbers no longer mattered. Contracts no longer sounded exciting. Emily's quiet words continued echoing inside his mind. People often reveal their true character when they believe no one can understand them. Those words reminded him of someone he hadn't thought about in years. His mother. She had grown up poor and worked as a hotel cleaner before eventually building a small family business with Victor's father. Throughout his childhood, she constantly reminded him to treat janitors, waiters, drivers, and receptionists with exactly the same respect he showed presidents and executives. She believed kindness was the greatest sign of true success. After becoming incredibly wealthy, Victor had forgotten those lessons. Success had slowly replaced humility with arrogance. When dinner ended, Victor stood up without saying much. His investors quietly left, each carrying an uncomfortable silence into the cold Geneva night. Victor remained behind. He watched Emily continue serving other tables with the same patience and kindness she had shown him despite everything that had happened. She smiled at elderly couples. She helped a nervous young father entertain his little daughter while preparing their meals. She comforted an anxious tourist struggling with the menu by translating several languages effortlessly. Not once did she complain about the humiliation she had experienced. Victor finally understood something. Greatness wasn't measured by who served you. It was measured by how you treated those who could do nothing for your success. After the restaurant closed, Victor asked the manager whether he could speak privately with Emily. She hesitated but agreed. For several moments, neither of them spoke. Finally, Victor admitted that he had spent years believing money protected him from consequences. He confessed that power had slowly changed him into someone his own mother would barely recognize. He apologized sincerely, not because he had been embarrassed, but because he finally understood the pain his words could have caused. Emily listened quietly. She accepted his apology without celebration. She explained that forgiveness didn't erase what happened, but it gave both people the opportunity to become better than yesterday. Victor thanked her. Before leaving, he asked one final question. Why hadn't she humiliated him back when she clearly had the chance? Emily smiled gently. She explained that dignity never grows by stealing someone else's. That answer stayed with Victor long after he left the hotel. Over the following weeks, something remarkable began happening. Victor quietly launched scholarships for students studying languages and international education, naming the program after his late mother. He also introduced mandatory respect and leadership training throughout his companies, reminding executives that every employee deserved equal dignity, regardless of their position. He never publicly mentioned Emily's name. He wanted the change to come from genuine regret rather than public praise. Months later, Emily unexpectedly received a letter. The scholarship committee had reviewed her unfinished university records and invited her to complete her master's degree with every expense fully covered. There was no publicity, no photographers, no press conference, only a handwritten note. It simply read, "Thank you for reminding one stubborn man what real success looks like." Emily looked toward the evening sky, thinking about her grandfather and her mother. For the first time in years, hope felt stronger than worry. She returned to university while continuing part-time work at the hotel. Years later, she fulfilled her childhood dream of becoming a respected language professor, inspiring students from around the world to use words for understanding instead of humiliation. Victor occasionally attended charity events where they crossed paths. Their conversations remained simple, respectful, and warm. Neither of them ever mentioned that unforgettable night again, because both understood its lesson had already transformed two different lives forever. The guests who had laughed eventually heard the story spread quietly through business circles. Many admitted they had been ashamed of remaining silent. Some even changed the way they treated people in their own companies. One moment of courage had created a ripple far beyond a single restaurant. If this story touched your heart, please write this special comment below. Kindness speaks every language. And if this story reminded you that respect costs nothing but can change someone's life forever, please like this video, leave your thoughts in the comments, share it with friends and family, and subscribe to the channel so together we can spread more stories that restore faith in humanity. Because in the end, wealth can fill a bank account, power can fill a room, but only kindness has the power to fill a heart. And sometimes, the quietest reply becomes the loudest lesson of all.